Mr. Prime Minister, Madam Rector, Madam Vice Rector, Mr. Governor, Mr. Mayor, professors, colleagues, dear students. The academic year 2021-2022 is the 72nd in the history of the College of Europe. It will remain known as the year that came after the strange year, 2020-2021. In any case, the previous academic year was historic in the real sense of the word. And let us hope it was a one-off. Today we are living in the year of responsibility rather than freedom. Responsibility for others is another word for solidarity. And that is exactly what the European Union is all about. The Union showed recently solidarity by setting up a recovery fund that will mainly help economically the regions most affected by the pandemic. And this is mainly in the form of grants and will allow the European budget to be doubled over the next 3 years. Solidarity is also the leitmotif in the joint procurement of vaccines, so that all countries have equal access to the best vaccines in the world, many of which, incidentally, are produced in this country. Our vaccination campaign, the European one, is a success story. We are doing much better than those who mocked us a few months ago. It's a success story in this country and in this region. But we must do more for the poor countries, especially in Africa. Dear students, the European Union is not perfect, but is much better than the eternal critics would have us believe. We have also succeeded through the COVID vaccination certificate in keeping the borders between member states almost completely open for people and for goods. The European caravan moves on. And during your studies, you will get to know the EU even better. You will see its enormous achievements and equally enormous challenges. How can we reassure our citizens that Europe must protect, I insist on the word protect them from all kinds of threats of which we have seen the long lists since 2008? From unemployment to terrorism, from climate change to massive irregular migration. How are we to strengthen the democracy of the European Union as such and ensure democracy in our member states? These are not just problems. They are existential challenges. And the biggest of all is climate change. We cannot wait to act. And that's why COP26 next week in Glasgow is so important. The EU must be the motor, as it was at the Paris Agreements 6 years ago. Delay is the new word for denial. For mankind, it is, quoting Shakespeare, to be or not to be. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish you the courage of Eliane Vogel-Polsky, the patroness of this promotion, a woman who grew up in this country and was able to develop her talents. I'm proud of that. Her origins are broader than Belgium. Her influence in the European Union for women's rights is not yet sufficiently known. I'm convinced that her name and her work will stay with you. I repeat, she had the courage of her convictions. We badly need men and women with convictions. I'm very grateful to you, Mr. Prime Minister, for being here today, especially when this posthumous honor is bestowed on a fellow countryman, on a fellow countrywoman. This college is that of Europe, of course, but it is also the College of Belgium, because we are the host country. It shows how loyal our country always was and still is to the European idea. We cannot imagine life without the European Union. It is as simple as that. And I know that Europe is deeply rooted in your political thinking. Nous avons une certaine idée de l'Europe, en paraphrasant le président de Gaulle. Dear students, you come from all horizons of Europe and from outside our continent. We are building here on a great heritage of which this city, the city of Bruges, is a symbol. But we can only change the future and not the past. Study the past of the future with the knowledge of the achievements of the near and distant past. Trees have roots, but the sky is the only limit for their crowns. There are always reasons to be gloomy, but let us be the offspring of hope. Hope is a verb. Dear students, a year of encounters with the fellow travelers of your generation awaits you. A year of meeting with knowledge and science awaits you. Personally, I still feel like an eternal student. I wish you a wonderful year, a turning point in your life. There will be a time before college and after the college. And that time begins here and now. Thank you so much. I give the floor to the mayor of this wonderful city, Dirk de Vouw.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear Mr. Herman Van Rompuy, President of the Administrative Council of the College of Europe, dear Mrs. Federica Mogherini, Rector of the College of Europe, dear Mr. Alexander De Croo, Prime Minister of Belgium, very welcome, Mr. Prime Minister, dear Mr. De Callaway, Governor of the Province of West Flanders, dear students of the Ilian Vogelpolsky promotion, and dear professors. As the Mayor of Bruges, I am very pleased to welcome you to our beautiful city. I have already met some of you during our traditional student welcome at the beginning of the academic year. And now we are gathered again for the official opening ceremony. We are proud to have you as our guests. And we are also very proud of the presence of the College of Europe in Bruges. Since 1949, the College has been a symbol of union and cooperation between different countries. It attracts young Europeans with a thirst for knowledge and shapes them into critical citizens. Together, we can make Bruges a more European and even more international city. Because it's thanks to the presence of different nationalities that Bruges became great during the Middle Ages. Bruges embraces diversity. This has been the case for centuries. During the Middle Ages, Bruges flourished as a trading center. The 59th century truly was Bruges' golden age. It attracted people from all over the world. The Dukes of Burgundy settled into the city, and Flemish primitives as Jan van Eyck and Hans Memling found the creative hotspot they needed in Bruges. However, when the court of Burgundy left Bruges, the international tradesmen also disappeared. Years of war followed, and in the middle of the 19th century, Bruges was a poor city. During that time, George Rodenbach wrote his book, Bruges la Morte. In this book, he describes Bruges as a somewhat sleepy and mysterious place. A year and a half ago, it seemed that the times of Rodenbach were back. The coronavirus hit us suddenly and hard. We had to practice social distancing and stay indoors as much as possible. The usual very busy streets of Bruges became empty. But the book by George Rodenbach had a silver lining. It attracted the curiosity of our very first tourists, because Bruges is a special place. It speaks to your imagination. Last year, we wanted to encourage tourism in our own town. So we launched the Imagine Bruges campaign. We highlighted our assets and also the lesser known but equally charming places in the city. And we also wanted the international tourists to know that we missed them. That feeling is mutual, because a few weeks ago, Bruges was voted one of the cities that people missed the most during the lockdown period. Over 800,000 readers of the travel magazine Condé Nast Traveler not only missed Bruges, but they also are planning to come back when things look better. We have difficult times behind, and we are still not out of this pandemic. More than ever, I am convinced that we are in need of strong-minded people who believe in a Europe where cooperation is of great importance. And therefore, dear students, I look in your direction, because this is why you have taken up studies in the College of Europe. You will learn so much during your studies here, but I also hope that you will make time for leisure. I want to invite you to explore our beautiful town, visit our many museums, and learn about the rich history of this medieval city. We have many things to offer. One of those is Winter Glow, which started on November 26th. 13 light installations will extend across the city. The skating rink and the cozy winter bar will become a winter hotspot, and our Christmas market will be given a completely new look. I highly recommend it. Dear students, in the next few months, you will all become a citizen of Bruges. I sincerely hope you will enjoy your stay in our city, and that will forever occupy a space in your heart. Thank you very much. I would now like to give the floor to your rector, Ms. Federica Mogherini, who will tell you more about the patron of this promotion, Ilian Vogel-Polski. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Dear students, professors, ambassadors, friends and guests from our community of supporters, Mr. Prime Minister, Mr. President, it is really a pleasure for us to be able to do also this year the opening ceremony in presence in this beautiful concert hall and in this beautiful city. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, for your warm welcome that we already experienced during the reception you offered to our students and our college community a few weeks ago in a beautiful building and hall, where I think all of us already felt the warmth of the welcoming that you personally, your team and the city gives us every year. But I think that these years are, as you said, special. Because as you said, we are home. We are all now citizens of Bruges, live in this beautiful city. And the city can count on us, on the college, to stay European and international no matter what. We are here and we'll stay here. And thank you so much for having highlighted also the beauties of the city that our students have already started to experience, and I'm sure they will continue to do so, especially in the times where they will be a little bit more free from their studies and their exams period, but I'm sure they will find the time to do so. I will introduce our patron de promotion in a few minutes, but before that, I would like to give the floor to the governor of West Flanders, because we are all living this beautiful city experience in Bruges this year and these months ahead of you. But we also, I'm sure, have the opportunity to explore the beauties of West Flanders, which is a wonderful region with a lot of attractions, and that I have to admit last year offered our students of the Mario Soares promotion the possibility to escape a little bit, even in times of lockdown and difficulties to move. So it is with pleasure that I welcome and give the floor to the Governor of the province of West Flanders, Karl de Calwe. Please, Mr. Governor.
Without mask. Yeah. Prime Minister Alexander De Croo, President Van Rompuy, Rector Mogherini, Mayor Defoe, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, and students of the Eliane Vogel Polski promotion. C'est un grand honneur d'être parmi vous pour assister à l'ouverture de l'année académique du mondialement renommé Collège d'Europe à Bruges. As governor, I'm particularly pleased with the presence of the College of Europe within the provincial boundaries. But I'm sure that the pleasure is mutual, and the benefits are mutual as well. The provincial government is actively involved in the management of the College of Europe and is offering meaningful financial support to the college. It's also an honor to have the college in our province, of course, as the government of West Flanders is very active in the field of international and European cooperation. I am convinced that the College of Europe can play an important supporting and reinforcing role in the further development of the provincial European policy. Chers étudiants, c'est un réel plaisir pour moi de faire découvrir notre province à une élite de jeunes talents internationaux. Vous connaîtrez ainsi nos nombreux atouts et trouverez des raisons de créer des liens durables avec la Flandre occidentale. The province of West Flanders is in a unique location. We are the only Flemish province to have a border with France to the south, as well as a long border with the Netherlands to the north, and a maritime border that connects us with the UK, and large parts of the rest of Europe and the world. It's all just a stone's throw away. Internationalization is clearly part of our DNA. The 64 cities and municipalities of West Flanders are a nerve center close to the European institutions and decision-making authorities. West Flanders is the only province in Belgium with a direct access to the sea, and it's surrounded by strong economic regions such as Randstad in the Netherlands to the north, the French Lille-Tourcoing metropolis to the south, and London to the west. Cette tradition internationale séculaire, il suffit de penser au rôle du Bruges au Moyen Âge, mais aussi et surtout l'unification européenne ont apporté à la Flandre occidentale bon nombre d'opportunités et de défis. Depuis 1989, la Provence a intensifié ses relations européennes de manière stratégique et résolue. Cette dernière année, elle a acquis une vaste expérience dans l'utilisation du Fonds européen sur son territoire. La Provence joue ici un rôle important de passerelle. Elle informe, elle sensibilise, elle accompagne et dynamise divers partenaires et construit un lien essentiel entre l'Europe, la Flandre, le gouvernement local et les citoyens. Et les projets réalisés sont la preuve que les ressources européennes peuvent faire la différence dans une région. En outre, la Provence de Flandre occidentale joue un rôle non négligeable dans la politique d'information européenne. Depuis la création du Centre d'information Europe Direct, la Provence, en collaboration avec le ministère des Affaires étrangères et la Commission européenne, informe et sensibilise le grand public des groupes cibles spécifiques et des différents niveaux d'enseignement sur l'européen et ses atouts. Ladies and gentlemen, education and research are essential for making today's dreams become reality in the future. In West Flanders, we prioritize the expansions of the knowledge and the expertise of all levels, from a child on the first day at the preschool to the PhD graduate working on groundbreaking research in the state-of-art lab. Did you know, ladies and gentlemen, that no less than 60% of European purchasing power is located within 500-kilometer radius of the province of West Flanders? Did you know that if the vegetables on your plate were frozen at some point in the time, big changes, they are coming from the province of West Flanders? Did you know that the entrepreneurs in the West Flanders region are developing high-level synthetic textiles and materials, producing blue energy, and play an important role in the creative industries and the media sector? So please connect and remain connected with West Flanders. We hope that you all will become ambassadors of our province, and once you are graduated and professionally active, we represent also West Flanders. This way is not only the college, but also its students contribute to the international image of our province. Ladies and gentlemen, je souhaite pour tout le monde ici présent une année européenne fructueuse. J'espère que votre séjour ici, en Flandre occidentale à Bruges, sera une période qui restera ancrée dans votre cœur durant votre carrière, bien évidemment d'une façon positive. I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Governor, for this insightful views on the province, and I'm sure that we will all get and stay connected during our stay here. Well, mine is rather long, but also afterwards. Let me now share with you one important moment. You know that we have the opening of the academic year here in this beautiful city, in this beautiful concert hall, but we also have another campus, not in Bruges, but in Natolin, Warsaw in Poland. Due to still some travel restrictions and sanitary measures, the vice-rector that is managing and running on a daily basis the campus in Natolin couldn't join us today, but is following together with, I think, all your fellow students, colleagues in Natolin, this opening ceremony, because the Elian Vogel-Polski promotion is your common promotion in both campuses in the spirit of being one College of Europe. I asked Eva, the vice-rector from Natolin, to send us a video message to address us all as we start officially this academic year together. Je voudrais aussi, brièvement, mais très important pour moi, remercier pas seulement Eva Oznieska-Tamachka, mais aussi une femme très spéciale qui nous a aidé beaucoup pour l'organisation de cette cérémonie d'ouverture et spécialement pour la réalisation d'un film documentaire que vous allez voir en petite partie juste après la vidéo de message de la vice-rectrice. Et c'est Agnès Hubert qui a été amie et collègue de Elian Vogel-Polski et qui nous a accompagnés dans cette préparation d'aujourd'hui avec beaucoup d'enthousiasme et d'énergie, et qui est aussi parmi nous comme professeur au collège ici à Bruges. Donc voilà, maintenant je vous laisse avec le vidéo-message de Madame la vice-rectrice depuis Natolin, et puis je vais revenir vers vous pour une introduction sur notre patron de promotion.
Dear Rector Mogherini, Mr. Prime Minister, distinguished guests, dear professors, dear students of the Elian Fogel Polski Promotion. Greetings from Natolin. Today is a very happy occasion marking a special day in your life, academically, professionally, and even personally, as you officially begin the academic year. This will be an enriching experience for you on several levels. It will offer you access to substantial knowledge of European affairs and understanding of what Europe is today and what it can be tomorrow. What is more, through the extracurricular activities, the college will equip you with valuable insights and skills necessary to act on this. Last but not least, you will create a wonderful network of friends from all over Europe, its neighborhood and beyond. With these friends, you will also grow and develop. You begin as colleagues, later you will become friends, and at the end of the year, they will be your family. Every conversation you will have with them will add a new layer to your character as well as your imagination. The College of Europe is a great opportunity, and many of your predecessors consider it once-in-a-lifetime experience. I will reiterate my advice that I gave to your colleagues in NATO. There is enough success for everyone. If you want to get the best out of this college experience, work efficiently rather than hard, cooperatively rather than competitively, and remember to dream big and chase your dreams. Thank you.
Are you going to Scarborough Fair? Parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. Remember me to the one who lives there. He once was a true love of mine. Tell him to make me a cambric shirt. Parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. Without no seam nor needlework, then he'll be
Le 8 mars, chaque année, dans le monde entier, un grand nombre de femmes se rassemblent et descendent dans la rue pour revendiquer leurs droits. Et l'une d'entre elles a joué un rôle de pionnière en consacrant sa vie à faire progresser le droit des femmes en Europe, l'avocate belge Eliane Vogel-Polski.
La situation des femmes dans le monde du travail, pour moi, ce sont vraiment des femmes aux pieds bandés, exactement comme étaient les femmes dans l'ancienne Chine. Elles ne sont pas en mesure, en état de marcher comme marchent les hommes.
Eliane a été extrêmement visionnaire.
C'était une femme engagée, généreuse.
L'article 119, on disait ah oui, ça c'est l'article d'Eliane.
Ma grand-mère est morte il y a approximativement 10 mois. Quand j'allais dans son appartement, on discutait, elle me parlait de son enfance, de son adolescence. Son adolescence, c'était pendant la Seconde Guerre mondiale, où elle m'a raconté plusieurs histoires, dont une qui m'a marquée, c'est quand elle s'apprêtait à rejoindre ses parents pour un week-end qui habitait à la campagne. Et puis elle avait des faux papiers, donc au lieu de s'appeler Polski, sur ses papiers était marqué qu'elle s'appelait Paulet, parce que ça faisait moins juif. Et elle s'aperçoit qu'il y a un contrôle de papiers de soldats.
Justement, j'étais à la gare des Guillemins à Liège et alors ils prenaient les papiers d'identité, ils demandaient aux gens leurs papiers d'identité. Et là, j'ai eu très 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 peur.
Puis je me suis rendu compte après, à son enterrement, quand j'ai vu tout le monde qui avait, tous les discours qu'il y a eu, quand on m'en parlait aussi, quand on me disait « mais ta grand-mère, quelle grande dame ». Je trouvais ça génial de dire quelque chose comme ça.
Après son décès en 2015, le journal Le Monde écrit « Eliane Vogel-Polski, défenseur convaincu d'une Europe sociale, l'avocate belge s'est battue tout au long de sa carrière pour faire progresser le droit des femmes. » Elle est née dans cette maison de Gand le 5 juillet 1926. Ses deux parents sont d'origine russe. Ils s'installent en Belgique après la Première Guerre mondiale. Modernes et cultivés, ils sont soucieux de procurer une excellente éducation à leurs deux filles, Marie-Françoise et Eliane. Au sujet de son père, Eliane disait « Mon père était un orfèvre en matière d'égalité. Lorsque nous lui demandions laquelle de nous deux il préférait, il répondait à Marie-Françoise « Tu es la préférée de mes filles aînées. Et à moi, tu es la préférée de mes filles cadettes. » Après ses études secondaires chez les sœurs bénédictines, Eliane Polski s'inscrit à l'université, en droit, parce que c'est plus sérieux que la philosophie et que cela mène à tout. Le 7 juillet 1950, elle sera une des rares femmes de son époque à obtenir un doctorat avec grande distinction à l'Université libre de Bruxelles. Son talent à plaider des causes, son souci d'améliorer la condition des ouvrières et sa passion pour l'Europe en construction feront d'elle une pionnière qui va transformer le droit à l'égalité en Europe.
Vous comprenez, le temps des constats, il est dépassé. Je crois qu'il n'y a plus personne qui nous conteste toute une série de situations. Le sous-emploi, la basse qualification, les difficultés de promotion, les bas niveaux des salaires, etc., etc., le clivage des métiers. Mais comment changer les choses?
Elle avait travaillé avec des hommes politiques, elle connaissait bien les institutions et elle pouvait beaucoup aider les femmes de l'époque à transformer leur révolte en des actions tout à fait pertinentes devant des tribunaux.
C'est qu'elle a alors introduit cette préoccupation du droit européen qu'elle a utilisée comme une ressource forte, notamment dans ce fameux procès de Fresnes. Donc elle a fait ça un peu seule contre tous, d'avoir introduit cette action, de l'avoir obtenue. Donc c'est quand même assez extraordinaire.
Le 8 avril 1976, après 2 procès et 8 ans de plaidoirie, la Cour de justice des communautés européennes rend un arrêt historique dans le cas de Fresnes. Non seulement l'article 119 devient directement invocable par les juridictions nationales, mais l'égalité entre les femmes et les hommes est reconnue comme un fondement du droit européen. C'est un immense succès. Mais pour Eliane, la lutte continue.
Évidemment qu'il y a des causes très différentes, mais ça se caractérise par des inégalités dans l'éducation, dans la formation. Bon, alors s'il y a une égalité dans l'éducation et la formation, il est clair que cela obère les chances professionnelles. Ça veut dire qu'au moment il y a ségrégation, au moment de l'entrée dans le travail, vous trouvez des ségrégations très importantes dans le monde du travail pour les postes de travail occupés ou réservés uniquement aux femmes, pour les fonctions occupées. Il y a une répartition inégale dans les secteurs d'activité. Les bons secteurs d'activité sont beaucoup plus occupés par les hommes que par les femmes. Et de même qu'on peut voir que quand un métier se féminise, tombe en quenouille, les salaires tombent automatiquement également. Et vous avez bien sûr une répartition tout à fait inégale dans la hiérarchie et dans les responsabilités.
Cette idée de démocratie paritaire, elle dit que c'est évidemment une utopie, mais en même temps elle y croit, toujours elle est utopique et pragmatique. Elle a toujours été comme ça, et elle arrive toujours à concilier les deux. Et c'est quand même une utopie qui est devenue assez concrète. Ça a donné des tas de résultats. Il y a eu des gouvernements paritaires qui n'ont jamais été fort durables, il faut bien le reconnaître, mais quand même en Suède, en Espagne. Donc je veux dire, alors qu'on avait des tas d'oppositions en disant mais c'est complètement fou, finalement ça a donné des résultats relativement rapidement et ça a fait considérablement progresser la représentation des femmes dans les organes de décision politique. Ça c'est incontestable. Donc ça aurait réjoui Eliane à mon avis.
C'est clairement une figure féminine importante. J'ai une idée précise de ce qu'elle a pu réaliser. C'est possible d'avoir des résultats quand on se bat pour l'égalité homme-femme et c'est pas un combat perdu.
J'ai une idée précise de ce qu'elle a pu réaliser. C'est possible d'avoir des résultats quand on se bat pour l'égalité homme-femme et ce n'est pas un combat perdu. We just heard from Judith, the granddaughter of Eliane Vogel-Polsky, these very powerful words. And I couldn't find a better way to introduce our patron de promotion, your patron de promotion, for the academic year 2021-2022. She will accompany, guide, inspire our work at the College of Europe during the next months and your life forever, as you will always be part of the college community as the Vogel-Polsky promotion, while you will grow and develop in your personal and professional life. Judith is a girl approximately of your age who focuses her message on what has been and can be achieved. A pragmatic, concrete girl of your age who manages in just a few words to tell us who Eliane Vogel-Polsky was to her, a role model. A woman of strong ideals and clear thinking, methodic, with an unfailing capacity for indignation, in constant search for a seed to plant and make grow, so that principles could be turned into reality. What is essential, Eliane Vogel-Polsky used to say, is legitimizing demands, articulating arguments, and achieving the adoption of new legislation or substantial amendments to law. In Belgium, feminism had always focused on law reforms and had always affirmed the priority of equal economic and civil rights over all other demands. Eliane Vogel-Polsky once summed up the results that had been achieved over decades of hard work and difficult fights following this approach. And I quote, "In family law, the status of married woman, legal emancipation, substitution of parental authority instead of paternal one, causes of divorces and marriage settlements. In labor law, prohibition of resolutive clauses connected to marriage or pregnancy, the full right of married women to sign employment contracts, equality of pay, opportunities and treatment. In social security law, the financial organization of the protection of maternity, the equalization of unemployment benefits and pensions. And in public law, the Article 6 of the Constitution prohibiting discrimination based on gender. End of quote. This is a substantial list of very tangible results that have translated principles and ideals into legislation that has had and still has a direct impact on the daily lives of millions of people. And this is probably the first reason why I chose Eliane Vogel-Polsky as our patron de promotion for this year. To tell you, each of you, that you don't necessarily need to become a president, a prime minister, a politician, a well-known public figure to introduce change, relevant, positive, even revolutionary change in society, policy, legislation, in people's lives. You can be a lawyer, a professor, as she was, as you can be. With your studies in law, economics, political science, international relations, here at the College of Europe or elsewhere, you can build change, no matter what professional path you will choose to follow. Knowledge, perseverance, dedication, the constant attention to translating ideals into concrete actions, and that magic mix of studies and activism that Eliane Vogel-Polsky had all along her life. This is all you need. It's not little things, but this is all you need to build positive, long-lasting change in society and in people's daily lives. We all have an immense power that comes with responsibility. The responsibility to use it. Here at the College of Europe, I hope you will not only study, and study hard, but also realize how much power knowledge gives to you and how to use it at full for the benefit of all. Eliane Vogel-Polsky decided to use the power of her knowledge to contribute to advancing women's rights, in particular social and economic rights, and the construction of social Europe. She is called, and rightly so, the mother of social Europe. Now, we always refer to the founding fathers of our union, and we often forget the many mothers that built it. They have been given, over the decades, for sure, less recognition and visibility than their male colleagues. They've not always been politicians or public figures, but their contribution to the construction of the European Union has been equally, if not important, than the one of many and well-known founding fathers. And this is the second reason why I chose Eliane Vogel-Polsky as our patron de promotion for this academic year. To remind us all that our union has many founding mothers and that it is time to remember and recognize them all. As each of us has immense power and the responsibility to use it, the college also has its own power and the related responsibility to use it and use it well. Our power, the power of the College of Europe, is for sure limited, but important. The power and responsibility to transfer knowledge, as we do every day with our academic activities. The power and responsibility to build a network of talented, qualified, and committed students and alumni that will contribute to the integration of the European continent, as it is stated in our statute. And the power to highlight symbols, role models, inspiring figures, to shed light. When I became rector last year, apart from dealing with COVID management, that was actually taking, I would say, 90% of my time, I started to reflect on the choice of the patron de promotion. And I remember I made 3 decisions back then. The first one relates to the method of choice. For the first time in the history of the college, last year we asked all students, faculty, and staff of both campuses in Bruges and Natolin to send suggestions of aspiring figures that have contributed to the European integration process in different fields and in different times. And we received an impressive number of proposals, all extremely interesting. And among them, Eliane Vogel-Polsky, that was indicated by 2 of our students, Amandine Deswert and Elena Dotto, that I would like to thank again here because it's thanks to them if we have our patron today. Talking about power, they used the power they had. And you will have, each of you, the same power, the same opportunity and responsibility this year, as I intend to adopt exactly the same method for all years to come during my mandate, always asking students and staff for inputs, so you can start thinking. The second decision I took, and that I would like also to confirm today, is that during my mandate as rector, I will move beyond the unwritten, recently adopted rule of choosing alternatively a man and a woman. We've had 72 years of mainly men as patrons. I believe it's time to balance that. So my choice of preference, by default, for the entire duration of my mandate, will be women. The founding mothers of our union. Obviously, I will always be open to consider men, of course, but I really believe that we have some catch-up work to do here, because symbols count. And the third decision I took was on the kind of figure to choose. When I started to think of Eliane Vogel-Polsky, many around me reacted with surprise, some even a bit annoyed. Who is she? That was the most frequent question I received. And many suggested me to opt for a more well-known personality, someone you don't have to Google to find out who she is and why she is so relevant to the European integration process, even if I expect our law students all to know her anyway. But I thought, and I still think, that if we have the individual or collective power to highlight hidden figures and role models, to tell stories that are left at the margins of the mainstream history and narrative, and to share lessons that are unknown to the most, well, we have the responsibility, the duty to use that power, and to tell the stories, to share the lessons, to show the symbols that are too often left in the dark. We can shed a light, and if we can, I believe we must. Here I would like to thank one person, one very special person, that has supported this approach from the very beginning, and that is here with us today. When I texted him that I was thinking of Eliane Vogel-Polsky as our patron, he immediately reacted with enthusiasm, and that was for me the best confirmation I could dream of. I had no doubt. So thank you, Prime Minister Alexander, for the support you've given me in this choice. Alexander De Croo is for me a friend. We have shared many endless hours in council meetings in our previous roles, sometimes wondering why they couldn't be shorter. We have shared many common fights. He is not only a friend, obviously. He is first and foremost the, let me say, brave and bright Prime Minister of the country that hosts us, managing to handle in the midst of a pandemic a government coalition that even an Italian politician would find quite challenging. But there's something else that makes him special, and that, I believe, brings him here today, among many other things, such as the support to the College of Europe. He is a man that defines himself a feminist, a man who wrote a book whose title is The Age of Women, Why Feminism Also Liberates Men. Nothing else to add, I think. Because we need to recognize the mothers of Europe, sure, but we also need to overcome the false idea that gender equality is a women's issue. It is not. It's a whole of society issue. It's a democratic, even an economic one. And this is the third reason why I chose Eliane Vogel-Polsky as our patron. Because she always advocated and worked for an inclusive, I would dare to say, a not segregated approach to gender equality. Let me use her own words in 3 quotations, one by one. Number 1, she wrote once, very often women were appointed to women's committees that functioned as ghettos and were never considered to have the same legitimacy as those that are supposed to represent all workers. The female delegates are thus considered to defend a specific group rather than a collective interest. And this situation will endure as long as problems of reconciling family and work are felt to be women's problems. Quotation number 2. It is not both comical and despairing to hear the vocabulary of the policies concerning women. Integrating 52% of the population, what does that mean? Integrate them into what? Quotation number 3. The right to equality can be justified not by representing women because they're women, but because that is how we see democracy, as guaranteeing the rights of all individuals. We should fight not invoking women's rights, but the interest of democracy itself. I have come to the conclusion that the right to equality must be recognized as a collective right. End of quotation. Personally, I came to the exact same conclusion. Having often been the only woman in the room, not to mention to the negotiating table, having been asked so many times, how do I manage to reconcile my professional role with my being a mother, and always asking back to my interlocutor, and how do you reconcile your professional role with your being a father? And being the first woman rector of the College of Europe 72 years after its establishment, I came to the very same conclusion. Gender equality is not a women's issue more than it is a man's issue. Because when it is not realized, it is a loss for all as individuals, as citizens of our democracies. Je sais que c'est exactement ce même esprit et ces mêmes convictions qui animent le féminisme d'Alexander De Croo, qui a déclaré une fois « Il ne faut pas être femme pour être féministe ». Il nous fait l'immense honneur aujourd'hui d'être ici avec nous pour l'ouverture officielle de l'année académique 2021-2022 du Collège d'Europe, promotion Eliane Vogel-Polski. En effet, je dois partager avec vous tous une petite curiosité. Ce n'est pas la première fois qu'un De Croo participe à notre cérémonie d'ouverture, parce qu'en 1974, un an avant la naissance d'Alexander De Croo, si je ne me trompe pas, son père, Herman, à l'époque ministre pour l'éducation, a délivré son discours pour les étudiants du Collège d'Europe, ici à Bruges. Il y a donc une petite tradition à honorer, qui aujourd'hui est renouvelée et relancée. Une tradition qui a ses racines profondes dans les liens entre le Collège d'Europe et la Belgique, pays qui nous accueille et nous soutient dans un engagement commun que nous partageons pour l'intégration européenne, pour la formation des jeunes générations et leur empowerment. Je n'ai pas trouvé un mot français pour ça, mais je suis sûre que ça existe. Et aussi pour l'égalité des genres. C'est donc avec un immense plaisir que je donne maintenant la parole à mon cher ami et notre Premier ministre, Alexander De Croo.
Former President of the European Council, dear Herman, Rector, dear Federica, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. In the short movie, it was mentioned that there are two governments which are at parity between women and men. I think Norway and Spain was mentioned. Actually, there's at least three, because the Belgian government is also at parity between men and women. I will accept that it was omitted in that movie. The movie also says that parity governments actually deliver quite good results. I think that was the way it was mentioned. I actually think parity governments really rock. I think we give great results. But I will let you judge that for yourself on the quality of the Belgian government as well. I think you will learn here to make up your own mind. First of all, it is obviously an honor for me to open together with you this new academic year of the College of Europe. This is a distinguished institution known for its excellent research, outstanding education, and since recently also its very well documented lockdown parties. That obviously was last year. That is not going to be you, as far as I've understood. Allow me to start with a Belgian message that I believe has some European relevance. And the core of my message is, too often, the European debate is about institutions, where it really should be about people. Now, why am I calling this, quote-unquote, a Belgian message? Well, because Belgium has a lot of experience in this field. We are institutional reform champions. Between 1970 and 2011,
Belgium has had 6 state reforms. That means basically every 8 years. Every 8 years, we reshuffle our constitutional architecture. These state reforms, they deliver good results when they focus on people's lives, when they move the country forward as a whole. However, they do not deliver when dictated by dogma, and as a consequence, efficiency is pushed aside. To me, that is an important message from Belgium to Europe, to stay away from institutional dogmatism. The last thing we need is a big ideological clash. The Euro-federalists versus the Eurosceptics, a trench war between extremes, institutional reforms that eat energy and bandwidth, focused inward while the wider world moves forward. This world that provides generations with plenty of opportunities, but for many people is also a source of insecurity and threats. Climate change, the digital revolution, migration, offshoring of jobs. Global issues, but directly impacting people's lives. We have had crisis after crisis after crisis. It tested our belief in progress, the belief that we have our destiny in our own hands. It's Europe's role to restore this belief, to come up with answers to those insecurities, protecting people, protecting our interests, protecting our European values. Not with a protectionist project, but with an empowering project, reconciling openness to the world with security for the people. Not pulling up a drawbridge, but using our openness to shape the world, engaging with others to set the standards, defining the playing field. Europe was precisely born to seize these opportunities while managing the threats, both a peace project and a project of economic opportunities. Especially today, in these uncertain times, we have to bring this balancing act between openness and protection again to the heart of our union. This is what we aimed for during the COVID crisis. This is what we should aim for in tackling the climate crisis. But before I discuss COVID and climate, I want to take a step back. Back to 2016, back to Brexit. Weirdly enough, Brexit meant the rebirth of the European spirit, or at least the rebirth of the notion that Europe works best when it is united. On the way to the exit, the British government wanted to rummage one last time in the bucket of European benefits. All the blessings of Europe, especially the single market, but none of the burden. In the sight of the endgame, the UK government tried to divide us. They tested our political unity, but we succeeded. Michel Barnier and the European Commission took into account every sensibility and every sensitivity of every member state and merged it into one solid European position. Faced with the prospect of losing what was dearest to us, the internal market as an engine of our prosperity, we wrote it out together. At the outset, most observers predicted a domino effect, more member states leaving, a Mexican army strategy, a union dispersing in all directions. But what we saw was the opposite. Europe didn't undergo Brexit. We led it. There was no domino effect. 2 months after the British referendum, support for EU membership grew by 5%. 4 years after Brexit, the support for the EU had even risen by more than 10% in countries like the Netherlands and the Nordics. We rediscovered the power of our unity. We saw the same sequence of events with COVID-19. At the outset, Europe was overly cautious. Wait and see. We didn't even have a common approach for mouth masks and for ventilators. 4 health ministers from Germany, France, Italy, and the Netherlands coordinated among themselves. Their message was, healthcare is a national competency. Vaccines are none of Europe's business. Institutionally, you can't argue with that. But looking at the reality on the ground, it did not make any sense. COVID-19 was a global problem, and we needed a European solution. As Commission President von der Leyen would coin it later, this was Europe's moment. And that is actually how it goes nowadays. With each major crisis erupting on our continent, there is a push from below, a push from the people. We have seen this push again recently in energy. Price hikes were driven by the world market, so people looked beyond their governments and urged Europe to act. While politicians look at the institutional framework and see impossibilities, people see the problem and they ask, who has the solution? Where is Europe to protect me? In their eyes, member states cannot do it alone anymore. Like it or not, people have raised the bar, especially your generation. You expect more from your governments, irrespective of where that government actually resides. And that's the good news. People have not given up on Europe. Even when in the recent past, Europe has often acted too little, too late. Even if Europe often organized its own delivery gap, for example, during the sovereign debt crisis or the migration crisis. Despite all these shortcomings, people have not given up on Europe. They understand very well what's going on in the world. They unmask fake news and disinformation, even if it's written on a very large red bus in the center of London. People perfectly understand that global challenges can never be solved by turning our backs to each other, by locking ourselves up in our national capitals. They urge us to cooperate, to work together. And during COVID, that is what European leaders did. They turned things around. The initial aid package of barely 30 million euro became a 750 billion euro investment plan. The initial failure on mouth masks and ventilators was transformed into a common European vaccine strategy. From development over production to shots in the arm, Europe showed itself to be a world leader. Not even Marine Le Pen or Matteo Salvini dared to argue that individual member states would have done a better job. What we saw during the COVID crisis was once again openness and protection combined. A Europe that remained open for business. We kept trade lanes open. While the United States chose for full protectionism with their Defense Act, Europe exported 1 billion vaccines, of which 700 million actually were produced here in Belgium. And next to our openness, Europe protected. Europe secured the health of its citizens. Europe did indeed whatever it takes to get out of the health crisis. And this time, we did not outsource the whatever it takes to technocrats. Like in 2008 with the financial crisis, when we asked the ECB to save the day because the Council couldn't agree on a European banking union and a European fiscal union. By the way, 12 years down the road, the Eurogroup is still discussing these proposals. The lesson of the past decade is that Europe is strong when member states jump over their own shadows, when we don't lose ourselves in institutional quagmire, but see the common European interest, compromise and act on it. A lesson we must take to heart as we are tackling the climate crisis. With Fit for 55, Europe is showing the way forward. We have a comprehensive strategy, a thorough reform of the emission trading scheme, a focus on renewable and energy efficiency, but also plans for carbon border adjustment mechanism, forcing trading partners to act as well. But apart from the policies, it will be our mindset that makes the difference. not to see the climate challenge as something constraining us, but as an opportunity to innovate. It is as much about sustainable living as it is about building a new economy. We will not reverse climate change with a policy of less growth, less consumption, less economic activity, because that would lead inevitably to less investment, less solutions, less prospects. People want to move forward in life, get more out of life, not less. This is human nature, it's biological. If Europe wants to beat climate change, it will be with a strategy of more. More, but different. With new technologies, like green hydrogen and efficient wind turbines, developed here, in Europe, and exported to the rest of the world. That is the way forward. Again, reconciling openness with protection. By innovating and at the same time protecting our middle class. Protecting our prosperity, current and future. Since we will leave no one behind in this climate transition, we will make it a gradual one. Citizens should not be taken by surprise, should not be placed before a fait accompli. The best way to protect people is making sure they are part of this change. That sustainable technologies are affordable. Electric cars are not something for the happy few, but for every European. That the energy bill goes down thanks to renewables. That people have the right skills for the green jobs. We can do this. Europe can do this. With the Recovery and Resilience Fund, we have for the first time a real European economic strategy. All member states choosing a clear common direction. Using the scale of our single market and leveraging the innovative strength of European companies, from Stockholm to Sofia. That will be our message, our European message next week in Glasgow. Ladies and gentlemen, it is not only our climate that is under pressure. Our liberal democracy is challenged as well. What used to be self-evident 10 years ago is no longer today. When I was a teenager, when the Iron Curtain came down, liberal democracy was something people worldwide aspired for, admired us for. Today, the leaders of China and Russia have chosen a different path, the path of autocracy. Even here in Europe, some want to install illiberal democracy, as if something like that actually would exist. Liberal democracy is not the easiest answer to our current challenges, but it is the right one, for the simple reason that it means all of us deciding together on where we are headed. Liberal democracy is not about having a strong leader. It is about strong leadership. It is my deep conviction that strong leadership is based on diversity and on inclusion. Liberal democracy is as much about protecting minorities, protecting diversity, as it is about the power of majority. Otherwise, you will end up with John Stuart Mill's warning, the tyranny of the majority over the minority. This tyranny is exactly what is popping up in Europe today. Governments attacking the free press, denigrating Muslims and immigrants, denying fundamental rights to women and to LGBTI people. While our European liberal democracy is exactly the opposite. It is about human decency, personal freedom, and allowing people of all walks of life to live their lives freely and come together in one society. It is, above all, ladies and gentlemen, about the separation of powers, the trias politica. A victory at the ballot box does not mean absolute power. Independent courts enforcing civil liberties are a crucial part of democracy, because it are these courts that need to be strong enough to stand up against the tyrannic majority. This is why the recent attack on the European Court of Justice is completely unacceptable. European governments that are not willing to respect the ground rules of liberal democracy, they undermine all trust. Trust between member states, trust between the peoples of Europe. Trust we need if we want a common future. To those who give incendiary interviews and think it's necessary to declare a new world war in the Financial Times, I want to say, you are playing a dangerous game. You are playing with fire when waging war with our European colleagues for internal political reasons. This is not about misplaced arrogance of the so-called old member states. Yes, maybe founding members of us sometimes were guilty of camping on the moral high ground, but not this time. This is not an issue of West against East, of old against new. This is about an overwhelming majority of member states, from the Baltics to Portugal, who agree our union is a union of values, not a cash machine. You cannot pocket all the money, but refuse the values. So what is the way out of this stalemate? We should not kick these countries out, as some suggest. We should call them out. We should not take their bait, but instead we should listen to the message of 100,000 Polish citizens who took the streets carrying the Polish flag with the European flag, side by side, to refute firebrand tactics, a message President von der Leyen understood very well. That is why she is considering an infringement procedure and preparing the use of the rule of law conditionality. We are all awaiting the ruling of the European Court of Justice on the instrument of conditionality. But make no mistake, the European Council should not let the European Court of Justice fight this fight on its own. We should avoid past mistakes and not leave it to the Court of Justice to solve this crisis on its own, just as we left it to the ECB to clean up the sovereign debt crisis on its own. This is a fundamental political problem that needs to be solved politically, by the Council and by the European Parliament, by setting out and anchoring the ground rules of our Union, the rule of law, democracy, and all the fundamental rights, things that have been so self-evident for so long, but it seems no longer are today. And by making these ground rules enforceable, better than they are today. If we really want a Europe that delivers, a phrase that we have heard so often, we need to fix this problem. Anything short of this would mean little more than rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. This rule of law discussion is existential. But we should be aware that it is also inward-looking. While we are struggling to enforce the ground rules of the European Union, the rest of the world is moving forward, and the real work is actually waiting. And that is to better protect our European interests, to construct European sovereignty next to national sovereignty. Because individual member states, even the big ones, are confronted with their own limits, with their inability to make an impact. Well, the very definition of sovereignty precisely is the ability to control your own destiny. During the Syrian war and the migration crisis, we saw that national sovereignty didn't cut it. The day more than 1 million refugees showed up at our borders, member states, big and small, were taken by surprise. That was in 2015. Today, we see exactly the same issues arising in the AUKUS conflict and with the withdrawal from Afghanistan. We need urgently to shut off our naivete. There is no such thing as a solid foreign policy that is not grounded in defending our own interests. The interests of Europeans should be the very compass of our foreign policy. Europe is second to none in soft power, in trade, in economics, in diplomacy, in fighting climate change. But in today's world, that means very little without being backed by hard power. We are a giant but we are a gentle giant. We need to develop and grow our hard power. China uses it all the time to leverage its economic ambitions. The Belt and Road Initiative is economic and geopolitical at the same time. Russia weaponizes its gas and other resources to grow its sphere of influence. And the United States switches between free trade and protectionism depending on what's best for them, not for us. That is the reason we need to build European defense capabilities, to create that hard power to back our soft power. Also to be a better partner to NATO, but more so to create smart power. That is what strategic autonomy should be about, securing our prosperity through hard capabilities. Because more and more industries are becoming geopolitical. Let me just give you 2 examples from Belgium, healthcare and semiconductors. The goods produced in these industries are so vital for our future well-being that our very survival depends on it. For healthcare, I guess that's stating the obvious. But the same goes for semiconductors. That might sound abstract to some ears and far removed from our daily lives. But the opposite is true. Semiconductors are used in almost every product on the market, from headphones to computers to cars to heavy machinery that produce all other goods. Without microchips, our economy would collapse. But there's the problem. Europe is world-class in R&D, and we are the biggest users of semiconductors in the world. But all the producers are either American or Asian. That is not just economic weakness. That is giving our competitors the ultimate power over our destiny. An existential risk that we cannot afford. That is what makes this whole discussion geopolitical. A case in point why Europe needs strategic autonomy. Maintaining our openness, but adding the strategic perspective of protecting our interests. Not locking ourselves up in splendid isolation, but making sure that others need us as much as we need them. Ladies and gentlemen, I know you can do this, because Europe has done it before. Together we have overcome major obstacles and launched even greater projects. The great generations of Schuman and Monnet, of Adenauer and de Gasperi, of Mitterrand and Kohl. Today, it's up to us, to our generation, to you. We too must build Europe. We will have to do it our own way. Gone are the days of the smoky backrooms. It will no longer be visionary leaders that drive Europe forward. It will be visionary European citizens that demand more from European politics, pushing their leaders forward. That is my definition of an ever closer union. A union closer to its people, more capable of empowering, freeing, and protecting them. A union that gives back the belief in progress to all Europeans, that progress is possible, that progress is there for all. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Prime Minister. It feels good and it feels home to have this all-Belgian panel and your inspiring words on the present and the future of Europe. And this, I think, resonates perfectly well with all the thinking and the studying that our students are doing both here and in Natolin on how they can contribute to the laboratory of the future of Europe. And you're perfectly right. It's up to them, it's up to you, for sure, but it's also up to them shape it from now. And now it's actually their turn to say a few words, because now we will be listening to our student representatives. First, our student representatives that are joining us via video message from Natolin. And then we will hear from Carolina de Albuquerque and Marina Navarro Montilla that are here with us in Bruges, sharing their thoughts on the opening of this academic year. Thank you.
Dear Rector, dear Prime Minister,
honourable guests, dear professors,
our dear fellow students in Bruges,
we hope you are all doing well. First, it is our pleasure as student representatives to greet all of you on behalf of the students from our beautiful Natolin campus.
This exciting year is, without doubt, the adventure of a lifetime for all of us. We wish you all an exceptional and a fruitful year, full of discoveries, surprises, academic inspirations, and encounters. Despite busy days, intense schedule, and the need for flexibility and time management skills, you probably know what we're talking about. We try not to forget that being part of the college is above all about people.
It is about the community we live in and we build day after day. Therefore, help each other, take care of those in need of support, look around and be sensible, listen to one another and do not be indifferent. We all learn and practice it every day, and this is what helps us to grow, develop, strive, achieve and blossom.
Please, do not hesitate to reach to us. We'll be more than happy to find a possibility to cooperate, put projects in place and find common points of interest. We are looking forward to welcoming you soon in Natolin, and we'll be more than happy to pay you a visit in beautiful Bruges.
The College of Europe is a place where dreams come true. Make the most of your time, connect, discover, enjoy and learn, and finally try to understand. Our diversity is an advantage and a value, and this is what makes the college so unique.
And don't forget, this is a journey which can only be fully enjoyed when shared. With our warmest regards from Natolin, Alexandra,
Killian,
and Sarah.
Prime Minister De Croo, President Van Rompuy, Rector Mogherini, Mayor, Governor, Excellencies, guests, fellow students. Thank you for being with us today, Prime Minister De Croo, and for sharing with us this special moment at the official opening ceremony of our academic year. We're very thankful to be able to represent the students' voice here. Il y a maintenant presque 2 mois, nous sommes arrivés au Collège d'Europe pleins de doutes, d'incertitudes et en même temps pleins d'espoir de trouver un nouveau foyer. Et oui, nous disons foyer parce que même si ce n'est que le début de notre voyage ensemble, nous avons déjà partagé tant de moments privilégiés. De résidence en résidence chaque samedi soir, au détour de conversations passionnées à la cantine, nous avons puisé dans nos différences pour tisser ensemble les liens d'une grande famille. Plus de 40 nationalités différentes, unies par des instants uniques que l'on oublie pourtant parfois de savourer. Plongés dans un rythme effréné, nous voulions aujourd'hui prendre le temps de se rappeler de profiter pleinement de chacun de ces instants pour nous enrichir et d'apprendre à regarder le monde sans conformisme. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we're moving into a post-pandemic world of inequality. This will be a challenge for our generation as we try to build a fairer world. We're privileged to be here at the college. Let us turn that privilege into responsibility. As young people, we're often confronted with the comment that we take the European project for granted. As College of Europe students, let us say loud and clear that we are strong in our belief for change. Let no one doubt our ambitions and goals in the defense of a greener, more feminist, more ethical Europe. Our generation and future generations will depend on us for taking care of social values and for defending the values which unite Europe. Those same values that we have brought and reinforced here in the college. Only with these values that we know and share as l'esprit du collège, we will be able to build the European project that we aim for tomorrow.
L'Europe est une somme de succès qui nous ont été laissés en héritage par nos parents et nos grands-parents. Ils ont été rendus possibles par leur travail quotidien, leur désir de paix et l'espoir que leurs enfants connaissent la prospérité. Our generation faces different challenges, but challenges nonetheless. Throughout the past years, our generation has shown great perseverance. It has not been easy. Dear Excellencies, 2022 will be the European Year of Youth. We are here and we are ready. We want more opportunities to voice our opinions to actively help shape the future of Europe. We need ambitious climate action starting from next week at the COP26. We need to fight disinformation to protect our democracies against the resurgence of nationalistic egoism and populism. We need to protect and include every single European, no matter what. And because we live in an interdependent and interconnected world, we, college students, shall strive for a Europe that takes up a strong role in the world. Trust us, involve us, and we will proudly carry the European torch everywhere we go. Dear fellow students, regardez autour de vous. C'est ici que, jour après jour, la paix, la démocratie et la prospérité, préservées par 70 ans d'existence de l'Union européenne, trouvent leur traduction dans la réalité. On représente la richesse de la diversité des origines, des langues, des cultures et des idées qui composent l'Union. Let us stay united, keep debating, keep learning and keep evolving throughout our academic year. Let us find inspiration in the accomplishments of a woman of conviction, our patronne de promotion, Eliane Vogel-Polski. We can learn from her that we must always choose collaboration over isolation. We have the power to shape our continent's destiny. We all feel the enormous privilege that it is to be at the College of Europe in our new home, the beautiful city of Bruges. We have a year ahead of us, so let's make every day count. After all, we are the new generation of Europeans, and together, we have no doubt we will rise to every single challenge. Thank you, and long live Europe.
I hope our distinguished speakers and guests will allow me to say this. I often think that our students are the best part of our college, by far, with all respect. And obviously, I mean, it has been always great to to listen to all speeches, but let me say that I'm always very proud when I hear how much of this flame you have inside you. And I hope that at the closing ceremony you will have it even more at the end of this journey. Not the end, at the end of this journey in Bruges, because life in the college continues. Now, let me do a little official announcement, because this is the moment to officially declare the academic year 2021-2022 open. And it is indeed for me, and I think for all of you, a pleasure and an honor being able to do this in the presence of the Prime Minister of Belgium, the Mayor and the Governor of West Flanders. Now let me invite our choir to come on stage for the Ode to the Joy.